race, taking us all the way through to around about 9 o'clock in UK time. Just jumping on board with Danger David, who finished in second place on the Mercedes, having been with Red Bull last season. Him and teammate Di Perez actually quite dominant last weekend to get a second and third place finish in the opening race of the season. Now, over the course of the last 40 to 50 years, there have been plenty of retirements in Formula One from the sport itself, including the likes of Jenson Button, Fernando Alonso, Felipe Massa, Kimi Räikkönen, and of course the great Michael Schumacher. But one of those things were all in common, and that is that it didn't last very long before they came out of retirement and returned back to the track. Somebody who we left last weekend as a retiree but has come back out of retirement within the space of 7 days because he misses the sports that much, is joining me in the commentary box to take us through the last 16 minutes of this qualifying session and the 50% lapped race. Skin, welcome back. It's good to have you back alongside me.
How you doing, mate? You okay?
I am, mate. I've got a bit of a cold block nose, sore throat, that kind of thing, bit of an headache. But the good news is I've taken a test and it is not COVID. So I am good to see us through inside of the United States of America.
Interesting, mate. I couldn't help myself. I heard you were poorly earlier today and I thought, bloody hell, I can't leave him like that. So moved a couple of things about and... well, yeah, I'll say this is my last one, but nobody's going to buy it at this rate, are they? So I'll keep my mouth shut and let's just enjoy the action that we should be able to enjoy over the next, hour and a half or so?
Hour and a half or so, indeed. We remember what happened with Paul Scholes. He came back out and won a championship straight away. So if the Mercedes... it's not the Mercedes anymore for you, is it? Of course, it is the Red Bull still, without Danger David and Di Perez, to see just how they can compete and defend the Constructors' Championship. We're on board now with Peter Caspi, who throughout the course of the entire 3 seasons that we've been covering the All Assist Soft League has been the first driver out on track, and he's continued that streak today. Now, the sun is shining, which makes it a very different approach to when this was tried last time and it was raining, so it makes things a little bit easier. The track will of course offer more grip for some of these drivers, and of course, as we can see with Peter Caspi at the moment, the DRS is enabled. So as he makes his way through around about 3/4 of the lap, makes his way into sector 3 quite comfortably. It goes without saying that he will be setting purple sectors all the way through this track, and for at least a small amount of time will be the provisional pole sitter when he crosses that checkered flag. Now, Danger David isn't too far behind him. I think he's only around a corner behind. In the past, he's set pole positions on quite a regular basis. Go on, who are you talking about now? What's gone off?
Oh God, I'm on board with Danger David. There's just been a collision between him and someone. I can't quite make it out on the track, but yeah, Danger David was just on a timed lap there. He's binned it off now. Sorry. Yeah, he's pitting. So sorry, I was just on board with Danger David on that time lap. He was behind someone. I can't quite work out who it was. And yeah, I'm not sure if there was a bit of a mix-up there, like he thought he was going to be let past and then he wasn't, or he wasn't given enough room. I'm not quite sure, going around the corner and clipped the back of him, so he has pitted there, not set a time. Pleasant Snake, 1:34.1, so great time, 2/10 quicker than Sandman in second. We know how fast and how successful Sandman has been in qualifying historically in all the races that we've qualified on, so yeah, sorry, I was just trying to catch up there as Danger David pitted. But yeah, Pleasant Snake currently start on pole with a 1:34.1. So could we have a brand new driver in pole position?
Maybe so. Now, in this time, there have only been quite a few. There's only been a few that have actually sat on pole position. We've had MS Johnsy, of course, VSM Sandman. Danger David's got pole position as well. I'm thinking Danger David's actually got pole position before. It might be a case of he's not, and he's just been quite consistent in high finishes. Herman has also got pole position in the past as well. He won last weekend's race, and despite driving for different teams each week, he is consistently hitting the top step of the podium. He's in the pits at the moment, him and Danger David, the two cars that are still in the pits. We're on board with DDB890 at the moment as he's coming around into the final sector of the lap. See if he can beat the time of 1:34.1 set by Pleasant Snake to take provisional pole away. I'm not going to be able to tell you the teams off the top of my head for these, because there's been a lot of driver changes towards the back end of last season, slash the start of this season, and due to Formula One 2023 updates, it means that drivers can no longer drive actual cars. The only thing they can do is drive their own personal made cars. Now, some have tried to make them look like the actual cars that they should be driving. Others have gone with their very own designs, and DDB 890, it's a 142.3, putting him into 15th place at the moment. Now, Danger David and Herman, first and second last week, are now on their outlaps. We'll follow them once they've passed the checkered flag for their time lapse. We're on board now with F123 as he comes round into the final corners and opts to pit, not quite happy with the time that he was setting, so we'll jump on board with Sir Ivo, the final one that is to set a timed lap at the moment in Texas. He's currently sat, of course, in 20th place, apart from Quan, Danger David and Herman, who are out on outlaps. Everyone else now has set a time. He comes into the penultimate corner before going on to the pit straight. He too looks like he's heading into the pits. He is going to do so. So he's not happy with his time either, and looking up the top right indicates we can understand why, with a 2-minute 25 set. So at the moment it is Pleasant Snake 13 that is currently sat in provisional pole. VSM Sandman in second place. D Perez in third, which is exactly where he finished last weekend. So we will jump on board with Danger David, who's going through the second sector at the moment and the second DRS zone that Texas has to offer. Now, Skin, we've driven through this track quite a few times. We've spoken a lot about how you struggle through a lot of tracks. This is actually quite the opposite, isn't it? This is one of your stronger tracks.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever we played, and look, we've said it a few times, we have put next to no time. We might as well have put no time into this game so far. This year, the person that we would normally jump on with and create leagues hasn't got the game, so I think for the last 3 or 4 years we've put quite a bit of time into it, and then this one's come along and we've not played it at all. But tracks like this, tracks like France, Austria, tended to be my stronger ones, so I think if anything that just highlights how bad I actually am at the game, because I need a really big open track with little to no risks of crashing to deliver. So yeah, absolutely right, it did tend to be one of my strongest tracks on the calendar, alongside, like I said, your France's, your Austrias, and they've all got one thing in common: there's not really any walls around the track, are there? And you can afford to make mistakes. So yeah, I feel like it's probably not the best thing to admit that it's one of my strongest tracks, especially when I start to realise why as I'm talking about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's quite difficult to be on France, but it says it all, doesn't it, when you park up on the corner of Monaco, but France is one of your favourite tracks. So just as long as there's not anything near you to hit, you'll be absolutely fine. As we are on board with Herman, who's hit 26.1 going through Sector 1, and that was good enough for a purple Sector 1. He's gone through Sector 2 now, enters into Sector 3, not a purple Sector 2 though, which means somewhere he has lost a bit of time on that set by Pleasant Snake, who's in a 134.157. So last 4 corners before hitting onto the pit straight. He seems to have picked up quite a bit of speed, and those tyres look like they've got very strong grip on the track at the moment as well. So onto a long right-handed corner. No need for braking heading into here before you go onto the penultimate corner. Again, he doesn't look like he's going to brake at all. No, takes that very confidently. Very nicely done. Onto the final corner then. 134.157 is the time to beat. If he's to take pole position, he's gone 9th with a 135.151. So nearly a complete second behind Pleasant Snake. And it looked like a lot of that time was lost in Sector 2. Sector 3, it looked like he picked quite a bit of that back up. So Skill will jump onto
someone's
you
coming
with
now. Danger David is about to cross the line, and he will get pole. He was absolutely flying there. I could see as he came around the track, he was on the 32. So, came around the last corner, was on 32. So, yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but I knew you were coming to me and I wanted to get it in quick. But what a lap that was from Danger David. Was on board all the way round, and, yeah, absolutely smashed it. Just over a tenth quicker than Pleasant Snake, who's on an outlap. Sandman, I'm just trying to figure out if he's still on a time lap, because no, he's not.
On a time lap. He was on a time lap.
Is he actually going for it? But yeah, there we go. Pleasant Snake, mate, take it away. Just started his latest timed lap. Currently 2 tenths quicker than Sandman in third, but just over a tenth slower than Danger David. But does have that front row seat as it stands.
Yeah, VSM Salmon with the McLaren, so maybe there's a little bit of bias coming from me at that point. But yes, Pleasant Snake in second. These are the S's that we're talking about. In this dry weather, sometimes you've got to be careful with the back of the car spinning ever so slightly. But when it comes to the dry weather, it's absolutely fine. When it comes to the wet weather, it is sheer anarchy. And at the moment, finishing Sector 1 with a purple Sector 1 is Pleasant Snake. He's got a 1:34.038 to beat if he's to take pole position back away from Danger David. This is a very different Pleasant Snake from what we've seen over the last couple of years. He seems much more determined in that extra hunger to get himself back on the top step, but of course that can all change in the race, as we know, a 50% lap race, and it means safety cars sometimes can come on a more than regular basis. Bert Mylander in this league has certainly earned his wages, hasn't he? As the yellow flag comes out in Sector 2 and Sector 3, and that kills the momentum that Pleasant Snake had as he was setting a faster time. So it's got to be frustrating for him there, but it's important to keep your mind focused on doing that lap again, isn't it? Because if you've set a purple Sector 1 and lost that time in 2 and 3, you've got to then try and get that time again, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely, mate. And like you said, it did look like he was on track for a faster lap there. I'm just having a quick look on the map as we're speaking, and I can't figure out where the yellow flag's coming from. It might be from Pleasant Snake, who is paying. He's not even going to go around again to try and set a time. Although saying that, he might have an invalidated lap time because a lot of the track is red. So I'm really not sure. I'm just trying to catch up. But RS has gone top. I missed that. Sorry.
No, exactly why you were talking about what was going on with Pleasant Snake there. Yeah, I think he was heading in because his tyres may have blistered going through that first sector. And that makes sense when you're getting a purple sector. Of course, when you're setting times like you are doing, beating a 26.1, you've got to think that it's going to have some effect on your tyres. So, yeah, you're going to have to box and change them up almost immediately to give yourself an extra shot at taking pole position away. The thing is, with some of these drivers at the front, it is so pivotal to get yourself on pole position because the likes of Sandman, the likes of Herman, the likes of Danger David have all fought up from the back before, so you need to make sure that you're gaining that advantage as early as possible. 5 minutes left of this qualifying session, so some of the drivers that are now heading back into the pits have the chance to come back out again. We're on board with Trugster at the moment in the final couple of corners of this lap. He's got a 1:33.9 to beat if he's to knock RS0121 off the top step of pole position. Just goes through what would in a race circumstance be the DRS detection zone, as he's gone red throughout the entire of the lap, and I think that might just be another invalidated lap time. We're getting a lot of these going on at the moment in and around Texas, so we'll jump on board with Veriduco, who's currently down in 11th place, heading through the S's that are given to us in Texas. Just finishes off Sector 1. And it's 1.4 seconds slower than the time he set before. So a lot of time needed to be found by Veriduco in this final 4 minutes. So a lot of these cars that are now going into the track, into the pit, you're going to think very soon are going to need to come out just to avoid any sort of traffic circumstances. We can see at the top left of the screen that VSM Sandman is out on his way now. So he's out onto the track as we speak. His teammate Veriduco, both racing for the McLarens this season, is going through Sector 2 at the moment into the DRS detection zone, and we'll wait and see just what he gets as he finishes Sector 2. Quite a small Sector 3 in Texas. He's just over 3 seconds slower, so he'll probably head into the pits on the back of this one. He just seems to be going quite steady, or he's reserved himself ready to go again as T-Bran crosses the line 4 seconds slower than his best time. So we'll jump on board with Tarkangino, who's making his way through at the moment through Sector 1. He was 0.066 slower than the time that he set previously, so in 15th at the moment on a 1:37.3. There is time that can be found in this second sector, but not by doing that, by spinning the back part of your car. But it's difficult, isn't it, when you've got that sort of I'm trying to think of the ways, the traction control when you're going around the corner and the back end of your car starts to spin a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah,
that's what it is. That's the function you're looking for. Sorry, mate, do you want me to carry on talking? You asked me a question that
sorry, I was having a cup of tea there, mate, so I was trying to sort my throat out.
I'm getting you back for last week, mate, after you kept waiting till I was having a drink to talk to me. But yeah, anyway, just on board with Sandman into Sector 3. In what is a lovely white and baby blue car. Kind of got a little bit of Williams of the George Russell era about it. As he goes round the penultimate corner, 125. He's currently less than half a second off of pole and could potentially get it here. He has 1:33.6. Fantastic last couple of corners. Great Sector 3 gets him that pole position. 3 tenths quicker than RS0121 in second. who is on an outlap, as well as a lot of other drivers. Every single driver other than Danger David is on an outlap in the top 10, trying to chase that pole position that Sandman has now claimed. And we know historically Sandman gets pole, he does tend to stay at the front as well. The new driver, Herman, at the minute, we know the success that he has had, struggling slightly at the moment in Sector 1 after a poor 1:35.1, so way off of the pace. I've no doubt that between now and the end of qualifying in around 90 seconds time, he will have beat that, but he's got to avoid traffic and he's got to avoid mistakes. He is very much at the point now where he's got to be setting his fastest lap. 7/10 quicker in Sector 1 there, which if he carries it at that pace, he's going to be right up there in and amongst the front row going into the race. So Herman, as I mentioned, currently in 11th place, will stay on board. Considering his success recently, considering how much of an impact he's had on this league, it's only right that we see if he can do better than the 1:35.1 that he's set so far. Just on the main straight, we'll drop down the gears now into this left turn. The track ahead of him is relatively free. He's got a car in front of him, but shouldn't have any issues. 1 second quicker going into the third sector. If he doesn't improve on that, it will be enough for around 4th place. So does need to find a little bit in this third sector. Sandman did manage to do that though. This is where he found the time that got him that pole lap. Can Herman do the same? He needs to find an extra 4 tenths or so on top of what he's set already, which he is more than capable of doing, as it goes round the last corner and sets a 1:33.5. beats Sandman by a tenth, and as it stands with around a minute left, has pole position. And Sandman is in the pits, and with the time remaining will not have time to get back his pole position. So as it stands, Herman pole 1:33.5, Sandman completing the front row 1:33.6. RS 0121 currently driving around the track at the moment, just crossed into sector 2, but is going slower than his fastest lap time of 33.9, so unlikely to beat that. I think the big threat here could be Danger David. He is now on a time lap in sector 1, going through the windy bits, as I coined earlier. There is no rain, so smoothly through it, and he is going 200th quicker than his previous fastest lap, and he's in the wall. Danger wow. David, 2 100ths quicker in Sector 1, would have had to find more time in Sector 2 and 3, but bit of tailspin, the back of his car's kicked out, he struggled to control it and he's ended up in the wall, so will not be able to set a faster time, and as it stands will start in 4th place. D. Perez, his teammate, will not beat that, as he's gone into the wall as well, going into the pits. I don't know what's happening, and it looks like there's only drivers towards the bottom of the grid that is still on track. So as it looks right now, will surely be how the race starts in the next 5 minutes or so. Herman with pole, Sandman in second place. What a battle that is turning into between the two drivers. RS 0121 continuing some fine form in third place. Nay Danger David in fourth. Pleasant Snake, who at one point for quite a few minutes in the qualifying session had pole position, drops down to fifth. Trugster in sixth. D. Perez in seventh. Quincy eighth. Toxic ninth. And Formal One Farah completing the top 10 with a 1:35.0. Adam, what are your thoughts on the end of qualifying there?
Well, it's as eventful as ever, isn't it? VSM Sandman looked almost certain to be getting pole position, but you can never actually write Herman off. And I'm going to be honest, even if he'd not got pole position, he was staying down in 11th place. In his debut race here on the All Assist Soft League, he actually started at the back of the grid, didn't he, in 20th place, and still managed to finish himself on the top step of the podium. So I think that's just credit to how much he can actually bring to this league. VSM Sandman, we know, is always competitive. Danger David, to me, is like the strategic of this, isn't he? I mean, with all due respect to him, he doesn't seem to have the pace of Sandman or Herman, and I think that's been the case in the past. He just seems to have the strategy that always seems to keep him competitive, and his consistency around the front. VSM Sandman's always had a little mistake in him. You know, Herman hasn't been consistently competing in the league, so it's really, that's where Danger David's had that sort of positivity about him, isn't it? That's why he's the defending champion at the moment. He's consistently up towards the top. But Herman, 2 out of 2 races so far this season. If he can win again today, it puts him in a very good position. It's given him a very good argument for the fact that he should be in a seat next year. He should be within a team, not just floating about as a reserve driver, should people not be able to make it. VSM Salmon, of course, now with the McLarens, that's something new for him as well. So, it's shaping up to be a very good race. RS0121, he's going to be there or thereabouts. And Pleasant Snake, maybe the 2 outsiders that are up there at the moment. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think, again, the usual suspects are up there, and your Herman, Sandman, Danger David, they're probably the 3 drivers that are sort of the leaders of the league. In terms of historical results and performances, I know Herman's only new, but has impressed in his short time in this league. So, if anything, should make for an entertaining race. And I don't think, if it's not entertaining, it should be at least eventful, which is something that we definitely find in the races that we've commentated on, whether it's multiple DNFs, whether it's multiple safety cars, whether it's a mixture of the two, whether it's overtakes, all sorts have happened. And last week I was thinking that we've seen it all, and then I can't remember what it was, but something happened that made me question whether or not we had. So I wonder if this week we'll see something that we haven't seen before, or if it'll be the usual chaotic race in Austin, Texas. But we will see very shortly. Is Herman going to keep up his fine form, or will Sandman, is it a case of form is temporary, class is permanent, and the dominant champion of this league will get back on top today? Nice one, brother. I don't know. I suppose I'll give you some interesting facts about Adam while we wait for him to return. He is on Saturday. He is starting his new venture. For any of you out there that use or are aware of the Flash Score app, it's a great place to keep tracks on the latest football scores or any other scores within sport. He has taken up a new venture as a commentator for Flash Score, and his debut will be this Saturday. Sheffield United versus West Ham, or West Ham versus Sheffield United, I think it actually is. So yeah, if anyone wants to have a listen to Adam commentating on any other sports, if you're a football fan, click on the Flash Score app on Saturday, I believe it is. Let me just have a very quick look. Saturday 3 o'clock. So yeah, West Ham Sheffield United. If you just click on it, click on the audio commentary that it's telling me starts at 2:55 p.m. So 5 minutes before kickoff, you'll be able to hear Adam doing a little bit of football commentary. As always, me and Adam like to talk about the latest in sport on our podcast Loaded Sport. Just search for us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button if you would not mind, tell your friends about it as well. We talk football, we talk UFC, we talk boxing, we talk Formula 1 when there's races to review, preview or talk about in general, NFL as well, and then the odd bit of darts and golf when the occasion calls for it. And I believe this week it's just going to be me and Adam talking about the latest in sports. So if you've enjoyed our commentary, if you enjoy our commentary in any way, please give us a listen on Loaded Sport on either YouTube or Spotify. So the race is about to start with Herman in first place, Sandman in second, and let's get on board with Nay Danger David. Actually, let's move down to Pleasant Snake, who moves up into fifth, and try and keep a little bit of a view on the front of the grid. Herman with a great start, almost half a second lead already between him and Sandman. Let's move back up the grid slightly as Truckster up into fifth place. The top 4 is unmoved going into the first few corners. Herman in first place again already with a half a second gap. Sandman himself with a half a second gap to the RS0121. Danger David in fourth. There's quite a bit of a gap between each of the drivers already, so a fantastic start for each of them. Not really a gap for anywhere or anyone to overtake. Danger David a little bit wide there as he maybe looked at a bit of a lunge on RS0121, but nothing to be made there. On board with Truckster, who currently has the shortest gap between him and the driver in front. Just going to jump back to Pleasant Snake to try and get a full view on a potential overtake there as Danger David goes slightly wide and opens the door for Truckster to move up into fourth. But Danger David has the inside line, manages to get that back. But again, with this windy track, you're always going to alternate between who has the inside corner, which gives great opportunity for some action. And Truckster, just as they take this big right-hand turn there, manages to get ahead. Fantastic driving and a great start from Truckster as he moves up into fourth place.
Yeah, I'm back. Thank you for covering there just whilst I had to nip away. Yeah, first lap done, and it's been some very entertaining stuff to begin with, of course, between Danger David and Pleasant Snake. We'll know in a couple of laps' time just how much of an impact DRS can have on this race at the moment. We are staying on board with Danger David at the moment as he is in 6th place, still trying to get himself back into the 4th place where he started, but he's falling behind from both Truckster and Pleasant Snake in the case of the first lap. But yeah, as you rightly said, Herman now nearly a second ahead of VSM Sandman within the space of a couple of laps, so a great start from him. We will move down to just have a look at how Quan's defending against Peter Caspers. There's a 3-car pile up here at the moment heading through in lap 2. And it looks like it is going to be comfortably with Quan at the moment, actually, as Peter Caspi and Quincy, actually, it's Truckster that's taken a bit of a nosedive there, as Quan's moved up into 9th place. Truckster's gone down into 17th, but it's allowed Danger David to gain his position back up into 5th place. He's now 2/10 behind Pleasant Snake in 4th place, and the difficult thing is that a lot of these cars do look the same, because some people have just gone for the generic livery that it sets you up with in Formula 1, so it just makes it very difficult to be able to keep an eye on things. But Danger David and D. Perez, we know from history, are a team together from Red Bull last season, winning the Constructors' Championship, to Mercedes this year, and they're closing the gap on Pleasant Snake, who's in 4th place. Nearly 3.5 seconds separates him from 3rd place after 1.5 laps in this American Grand Prix in Texas. So half a second now between Danger David and Pleasant Snake has a big impact when DRS becomes available, giving you an extra 10 miles per hour around the track in certain areas of the track, is what we'll say. Let's have a look at some of the tyre choices that people have gone for at the moment, as VSM Sandman sets the fastest lap of 1:37.067 to close the gap ever so slightly on Herman going into the pit straight, just looking where the closest drivers are, and that is with T-Bran down in 12th place at the moment. Someone that tends to be a bit of the middle of the grid racer at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Does have the potential to climb up higher. We've seen the odd race where, excuse me, does sort of shoot up the top of the grid. So I think it's the odd mistakes that cost him a lot of the time. But I'm just on board with DDB 890. Just a little bit of a bunch up on the middle of the track. Moving up now to Toxic, as there's a bit of a battle here for 5th place. So yeah, it's not been the most action-packed of races. Everyone seems relatively comfortable. Been on board for the overtake or two, but certainly not the chaotic start that we tend to see in this race. Truckster up to 14th now after dropping down the grid, as T-Bran overtakes Peter Caspi to go into 10th place. Just on board now with Formula 1 Farah chasing D. Perez to try and get 6th place. D. Perez and A. Danger David 5th and 6th. The consummate professionals in this, and the ultimate teammates that, like you said, they've raced together for many a year now. Just 2 seconds, but very tight there. As I remain on board with Formula 1 Farah, just got very close up behind Dean Perez, but great driving, no contact made by either driver. So 3 laps in, Herman still in 1st place, Sandman in 2nd, Pleasant Snake in 4th, RS0121 in 3rd, completing that podium. So where do you think the chaos could come in this? Are we just waiting for a mistake, or is there going to be a potential crash? As I'm on board with with D. Perez, Nate Danger David up into 4th place. Great overtake on Pleasant Snake in the first corner. So yeah, it seems, I mean, touch wood when I say this, but it seems pretty clean and no incidents as it stands.
No, he's moved up into 4th place, but at what cost? Of course, in that slow start, he's dropped down to 6th, and I think at one point 7th place before moving back up to 4th, and he's now just over 4 seconds behind 3rd place. He's then a further nearly 4 seconds behind VSM Sandman, so he's nearly 10 seconds behind the top 2 at the moment, and he's lost quite a bit of pace there as he defends for the Drivers' Championship. I spoke to him last week, he said the same again. It will always be for him and D. Perez, the constructors. The drivers is just a bonus, but it is always about the constructors, and they are leading it after race number 1, finishing in 2nd and 3rd place. So yeah, he's in 4th place at the moment. We'll jump on board with VSM Sandman, actually, up in 2nd place at the moment. He seems to be gaining lap by lap on Herman, and he's taking this track in his stride at the moment. I think this has got to be one of his more favoured tracks actually, because normally by this point Herman's over a second ahead, and I think at one point it was close to being the case, but he's managed to close the gap significantly, and if he can get onto the pit straight within a second, I think he might actually have DRS assistance here to see him over the line and might actually get past Herman. So we'll stay on board with him as he goes onto pit straight. He has opened up DRS. Is it going to give him enough to get just past him on the pit straight? I don't think the straight's going to be long enough actually. I think by the end of it he might have to yield and stay behind him. He is, but he's closed that gap again by a tenth of a second. So, you know, Sandman is starting to close the gap, and they're both on medium tyres. I know in the past there's been a bit of a split strategy that they've both used that's kind of thrown a little bit of, you know, confusion to each other, tried to play a bit of a mind game. But as it stands at the moment, look at how they're taking these corners very calmly and composed and confidently, and it's a joy to behold, isn't it?
Top tier drivers, mate. I couldn't do it. I know when we were waiting in the lobby, obviously you have to set yourself to spectate, which is what we do, to then watch the race, to be able to commentate on it. And I think I was sat in the lobby for a good 2 minutes before I realised I'd not pressed the spectate button. And you said, imagine if I ended up racing. And quite honestly, watching these week in, week out, that is not something that I'd like to do, because even though they've only completed 4 laps, I think Herman and Sandman, as Sandman pushes up on the inside, does have the inside line going into the corner. I pressed the wrong button, so I missed it slightly there.
Wow.
But Sandman gets into first place, and yeah, I've absolutely no doubt that after 4 completed laps, or 4.5 laps, that those two would be not only battling to overtake each other, but being the first one to lap me as well. So yeah, I'm more than happy to sit back and spectate, because some great talent on the grid. But yeah, Sandman up into third place, some great driving. You absolutely nailed it there. We mentioned right at the start that Herman had got out to a fantastic start, but Sandman in his last couple of laps or so closed the gap and overtook brilliantly, going into that tight left-hander, and now holds first place going into lap number 6.
Well, RS0121 in third place is just a spectator at this point, isn't he? Watching him just with us watching the front two. Of course, still performing his drive very well, but he's looking there thinking, if there's going to be an error from either of those two drivers, he's in prime position to take first place away from him. But due to the distance ahead that he's got of Danger David, why not believe that if there is an error, he could go on to win it? What I will mention about the overtake whilst I was on board with VSM Sandman, I'm not sure just how much of it was on Sandman, but it looked like maybe he was Herman was forced a little bit too wide and he went off track. So I'm not sure if that's something that will be taken into account a little bit later on, but it'll be a shame if there is any penalties for either of them on the back of this, because over the course of the last couple of months we've certainly seen some very top tier driving, like you've just said, between the two of them. As now it's Herman's turn to use DRS. He's going to have it up onto the inside just in time. He's going to have the inside line going into the corner, takes the position away from Sandman in the exact same position that Sandman took the position away from him. He takes the position back, and he's back as the race leader now, 2 tenths ahead of BSM Sandman. This battle is not over. We've got a couple of more corners. Sandman is just behind him, but we're about to go onto the pit straight, where again there will be DRS, but this time it will be BSM Sandman that will have the opportunity to use it. He will be within 1 second as it stands at the moment, just under half a second behind him, past the DRS detection zone. He gets DRS, so let's see just how this will impact going on to the pit straight. He's a bit closer than he were last time they were on the pit straight, and he was in second place, so maybe this could put a bit more pressure on the current race leader. He opens up DRS very quickly, and I don't know if he's going to have it going into the first corner. It doesn't look like from that angle he's going to quite have enough track. No, he runs out of track, so it stays Herman in first place, VSM Sandman in second, but some very good racing from the two drivers once again out in front. We will jump a little bit further down, just to see a bit more of the action down in 13th place, as DDB890 is closing the gap on Trugster at the moment. He's going to have DRS going into the pit straight as well. He doesn't have to worry about Peter Caspi having it behind him, but again the track might not be long enough for him. I don't think these DRS zones, as he goes up the inside anyway, but he has to stop, and there's a collision between DDB890 and Peter Caspi. That was very risky. I told you I don't think he's got the track for it, and he tried it anyway. He's got a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting there. Very risky from DDB890, and he's caused a collision with Trugster on the back of it. Toxic now gets a penalty for multiple warnings of corner cutting. So, Skin, what's your thoughts on a bit of a lunge on the first corner? I don't know if you saw it. It was quite risky from DDB890.
I didn't see it, mate. I was climbing down the track and then saw the gap between Herman and Sandman closing again. So I thought I'd jump back on board with Sandman while you were talking about that. So we've got eyes on both ends of the grid, but Sandman did very briefly there overtake Herman back into first. Herman instantly got the place back. These are going neck and neck, tyre to tyre. We're only around about a third of the way, not even that, just under a third of the way through the race. But Herman and Sandman are giving it absolutely everything. No contact whatsoever between the two. Just about multiple overtakes, instant overtakes, phenomenal driving. So yeah, didn't see the incident, but there is some great racing right here at the front of the grid. They're nearly 7 seconds ahead of RS0121 in third place, so it shows how dominant they've been, managing to increase that gap whilst overtaking, whilst also trying to slow down at certain points to avoid contact. Everything that they've done in these last 8 laps, absolutely brilliant to watch. Credit to them both.
Yeah, I've been on board throughout while you've been doing that. Danger David, D. Perez, Toxic and Pleasant Snake. And Formula One Fire as well, that have all been kind of neck and neck at that point. And I think it was Formula One Fire that had 4th place at one point. He's now sat in 8th place as we remain on board with Danger David. Danger David overtook him, but D. Perez almost acted like a shadow and followed him point for point, placed his tyres in the exact same position and just followed him through those corners as they moved up into 4th and 5th place respectively. But then Toxic and Pleasant Snake on the preceding corners also had the opportunity to get past Formula One Fire and took it. So he's gone from 4th place down to 8th in the space of a couple of corners, which he'll be very disappointed with, but he'll be hoping to get those positions back. But it's the Mercedes of Danger David and D. Perez that sit in 4th and 5th place after those overtakes, as D. Perez opens up DRS on his teammate, goes up onto the inside and gets past him quite comfortably. There'll be not too much competition there, as Danger David and D. Perez said last week, if they ever come close to each other, the overtakes have to be wide and clean, otherwise they don't risk it on each other.
I think that's fair, mate. That's good sportsmanship, and that's being a good teammate, so can't argue with that.
No, well, I'll jump back on board with VSM Sandman then, who's less than half a second behind Herman at the moment onto the pit straight. He's going to have DRS, but again, he's not going to have enough track, but he's not going to risk it either up on the inside. It looked for a moment like he actually considered it, but I don't think he was going to go for it realistically anyway. He remains in 2nd place, but over 8 seconds ahead of RS0121. So we've got a 28-lap race. We are now on lap 9, which means we're getting towards the 3rd way through the race. At some point, some of these drivers are going to have to consider pitting. Go on.
Herman went very, very, very wide there, and could not have opened the door any wider for Sandman to regain 1st place. Not sure what happened, just coming out of the back end of that windy section, I can't even get my words out, towards the end of Sector 1, and went wide on the right hand side. Sandman had free track just to regain 1st place, so now with a gap of around 8/10, Sandman has retaken the lead.
Yeah, I was on board with him as well, and I don't know how I didn't see that. Tell me you're ill without telling me you're ill. And that's Sandman taking 1st place back off Herman, I think, is the right way to tell you that. As
Pleasant Snake climbing up 2 overtakes there, overtaking Danger David and Toxic to go up into 5th place. Great driving.
We're about to see our first driver being lapped, as we are on board with the current leader of VSM Sandman. He's got Herman 26 just behind him, and we're coming around onto the pit straight now. I was mentioning before we saw the overtake from Sandman when Herman went wide about the potential of pit stops. Now, we've got a lot of these drivers out on mediums. In fact, the majority on mediums. We've got, 3 on hard. Other than that, you've got 2 on softs. Surely the soft tyres, Kwan and Surrey, but we're going to have to at some point think about pitting just to keep this the tyre lifespan quite long. Looking at some of the drivers already, Skid Solo, DDB890, Tark and Gino have already boxed.
Yeah, Danger David, I'm just on board with him here, watching that little cluster, and he is pitting now, currently on medium tyres, and is going on to soft. So you're assuming there that Danger David is taking a 2-stop approach here, but he is on softs now, and you can only assume that he's going to do what he does best in this section of the race, and somehow going into the final third has got back into contention for a podium. So let's see where we're at in around about 8 or 9 laps time. So Danger David currently 10th. We know he's usually around this spot going into the 2nd third. Then, like I said, going into that final third of the race, he's pushing for that podium. So watch this space. Let's see where he is in around about, 13-14 minutes time.
I didn't see just what happened with him, because I was on board with Formula One Fire as he was leaving the pit lane there with medium tyres, so he's obviously changed onto a bit more longevity. hoping to see him through to the end of the race. But Danger David on those soft tyres has already got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings of corner cutting, and Tom Lenzon's just followed the same procedure now and got the exact same thing. So Danger David is in 10th place. He's got the advantage of having pitted onto the soft tyres, and I think once everybody else pits, he might actually regain his position of 4th place. It does look like 3rd place is out of reach for him at the moment. That 3-second time penalty could prove all the difference when it comes to it, as Herman does go into jump on board with D. Perez and see if he can get ahead of Herman as he leaves the pit. So D. Perez heading round onto the pit straight now. He remains out on track for now.
Herman going onto hards from mediums.
Probably see him through to the end of the race. In fact, those hard tyres, providing there is no collision, should see him through to the end of this race, as we've now got D. Perez up into 3rd place. Herman falls down into 6th place as a result of that pit stop. Of course, other drivers ahead of him do still need to pit, but as it stands at the moment, he does have that advantage for him, as Peter Caspi has a 3-second time penalty. So with VSM Salmon staying out an extra lap, do you think maybe there's a little bit of an undercut idea from Herman here?
Yeah, potentially, but the timing hasn't been great. He's come out at the back of a 3-car train here. He's currently got Toxic, who is right up behind but struggling to get past, so you can only assume that will slow him down as he's looking at the inside line going into this tight left-hand corner, and he has overtaken Toxic to go up to 5th, so he's really got to be aggressive this next lap or two, because if he starts getting stuck behind cars, that again opens the door further for Sandman to increase the lead coming out of the pit. So great move by Herman, and absolutely the right idea to instantly get aggressive and try and regain places.
Pleasant Snake there battling with D. Perez. I think we might see a couple more cars follow suit now and start to pit, so we might see a bit more order in the grid. There's nothing more complicated than trying to establish just where people are going to finish after the pit stops. As here on the inside, we've got quite a few changes and swapping and changes. Pleasant Snake moves up into 3rd place. Herman follows through. D. Perez there as well in 5th place, falls down to 5th place, should I say. But Herman gaining that position gives him a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting as well. We remain on board with Pleasant Snake going round onto the pit straight now. He's got Herman just behind him. There is going to be DRS available for Herman, the current championship leader. He might not actually need it, but he's going to use it, and it's going to get him up into 3rd place ahead of Pleasant Snake. D. Perez also has DRS, but he's not going to be able to gain the same advantage going into turn number 1. So Herman gets back up into 3rd place, but that 3-second time penalty could make all the difference at the end as Danger David takes the fastest lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on board with Toxic. It's wild going through the windy part of Sector 1. Again, fantastic driving from Herman to get up into 3rd place, but knowing that he went into pits already behind Sandman, how's that going to look now with that 3-second time penalty really playing into the hands of Sandman, who's currently on medium tyres, looking like they're not in the best condition. You probably want to look at pitting in this next lap or two. I always try to hold out as long as possible to avoid the traffic, but especially looking at that front right, it does look like it's got quite a bit of wear and tear. What you don't want now is a bit of a spin or anything like that. But something to maybe note, last week weather did play a factor in the race, and it does look a little bit gloomy in Texas at the moment as Sandman does go into the pits. Could we see some rain as we very quickly approach the second half of the race? We're only a couple of laps now, 1 lap away from having completed 50% of this 28 lap race. So, time penalties are starting to kick in. If the weather kicks in as well, this is where the chaos could stand. But I do want to highlight, Adam, so please correct me if I'm wrong, or probably if you think I'm wrong, because I don't know if you'll know the actual answer, but have we set a new record today for the longest time into a race before a safety car has come out? As Herman looks to overtake Sandman coming out of the pit and has just beat him going into that first corner. Sandman, a couple of tenths quicker, would have got out into 1st place. Fantastic outlap and first full lap from the pit stop from Herman has got him into 1st place now. Brilliant driving from the newcomer. That now means Herman has got an open track ahead of him to really push on and try and get rid of this 3-second time penalty. It's exactly what he needed. He could not afford to sit behind Sandman. He had to get ahead of him as soon as possible and then again cover that 3 seconds. Perfect start to the after pit racing from Herman.
Yeah, he's he's got past Sandman quite nicely, hasn't he? And he's just progressed further and further, but his tyres are a little bit warmer. I think when Sandman gets that heat back in the tyres, he'll know he doesn't need to do anything extravagant now. He'll be happy to just remain within 3 seconds of Herman, and see this race through to the end. And I think that'll also break the record that Herman was setting, wasn't it? That he'd won every race that he'd been in this league. So, Sandman's got that opportunity now to upset the momentum that Herman was building in this bid to be the champion. I was on board with D. Perez at that point as well to see just how close he could get, because he's not pitted either yet, and he's in 3rd place at the moment. And there's a couple of drivers a bit further down that still need to pit. So, it'll be interesting to see just at what point they go into the pits, as VSM Sandman, for the first time in this race, VSM Sandman and Herman are within 1 position of each other, and neither driver will have DRS to their advantage. That's the first time this race, and we are on lap 14 as D. Perez does go into the pits, and Pleasant Snake remains out, as D. Perez will just see what tyres he chooses to go on to, and it looks like it is going to be the hard tyres to see him through the second half of this race. So he's pitted and come out on the hard tyres to last another 14 laps. Danger David, when we saw him go into the pits, came out on soft, so may actually need another pit stop before the end of this race, as VSM Sandman now gets a time penalty.
Oh! Wow. Oh, lordy.
That's changed everything, hasn't it?
That is the definition of putting the cat amongst the pigeons. I've never known what that means, but I can only feel like that is exactly what it means. Oh, Sandman gets the penalty, surely aggressively trying to keep up with Sandman. I wasn't on board with him at the time. I was watching a bit of a battle towards the back of the grid. But, yeah, that now completely opens up the playing field with the top 4 on time penalties. So, yeah, RS0121 is the highest driver without a time penalty, and he is in 5th. What is going to happen now in the second half of the race? Half of the grid has a time penalty. We could potentially see rain, we could potentially see contact, we could potentially see extra pit stops as drivers start to panic and make changes based on the position on the track compared to what they were expecting of themselves when the race started around about 20-25 minutes ago. We should be in now for a very exciting second half of the race.
Well, D. Perez is down in 7th place. He has pitted, but he's actually lost some positions through his pit stop and staying out a little bit longer. Formula 1 Farah and his teammate Danger David have managed to gain advantage over him. So where RS0121 was already ahead of him at the time of the pit as well, he was in 2nd place. So when Pleasant Snake does in 3rd place, so when Pleasant Snake does pit, it will allow Danger David to move up into 3rd place. RS0121 will then follow suit as well. But Danger David's pit stop actually put him ahead of RS0121, and it's also forced his teammate down a couple of positions as well, as the two are now battling, both RS0121 and Danger David. Of course, Danger David taking the Mercedes seat away from him in a quick swap where RS is now a driver for Red Bull. So what's your thoughts on the fact that you've now got RS0121 fighting for your beloved?
I mean, I'm happy, mate. He's a great driver, brilliant performances, showing today what he's made of, being the highest on the track without a time penalty. Sandman overtakes Herman. This is now an out-and-out race. No time penalties, no advantages. I'm sorry, I'm just on board with Herman. It's very, very close. These lads, this is like a heavyweight boxing match for the ages. They're going hook for hook, jab for jab, trying to land that big shot. As Sandman just about manages to hold on to that 1st place after regaining it, but Herman is right up his arse like a randy dog, sniffing the anus of his potential mate. You'll not catch that on Sky Sports, so I don't think I'll be getting the job offer anytime soon. But here we go. We're not on Sky Sports, we're on PlayStation, we're in the All Assists Off League, and what a titanic battle between Sandman and Herman. I tell you what, if we could put some of this on Sky Sports, Formula 1 might be a little bit more popular this season. But as Pleasant Snake 13 gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting as he heads into the pits. But yeah, safety car. I don't know what's happened, nobody's out. So,
well, Pleasant Snake's also had a time penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
And
he's
sure
already
what's
in the
happened.
pits. He's not going to be able to serve that under the safety car either. So, this is where it all goes a bit crazy, isn't it? People start pitting unnecessarily and knee-jerk decisions on strategies, that kind of thing. But to get another penalty from speeding in the pit lane after getting one for corner cutting, you're going to be kicking yourself, having lost quite a few positions on the back of that. That's 8 seconds just out of nowhere, isn't it? And with a safety car, that 8 seconds is going to be difficult to pick back up in what could be just about 9 laps left.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, I was just speaking about what potential issues and chaos could we have, and I mentioned a safety car, but that was the expectation that someone would be going out, and as we say, nobody is out, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to have caused it. A few drivers pitting, but this is going to close the gap again. So here's the chaos, here's the drama. If we didn't have enough already, no drivers out, no safety cars up until lap 16 of 28. When this safety car goes in a couple of laps' time, we are yet again at the stage where it completely opens up the course. And RS0121 in third place with no time penalty. If he can get aggressive now in that first lap or two, could put himself in an amazing position to at least guarantee that that podium spot, as Sandman and Herman both pitting. Sandman speeding in the pit lane gets a further 5-second time penalty. I'm assuming he will be able to serve this in the pits now. I'm not sure how it works when there is a safety car, but usually when you have a 5-second time penalty, they do let you serve it. They aren't doing, he is straight out, so he's going to complete the race as it stands with an 8-second time penalty onto soft tyres as Herman and Sandman, Sandman on softs, 8-second time penalty, and Herman as well. Let me just have a look. Detail penalties. Yeah, Sandman, 8-second time penalty. There's your drama. This safety car goes in. The cars are going to be bunched up. D. Perez now up into third, as I'm not really sure what's happening because RS0121 hadn't pitted, so don't know why D. Perez got ahead of him there. It's all happening now. I can't keep up.
We've just had a time penalty there as well, right at the end when you were mentioning that for Quincy for speeding under the safety car. So, you know, this safety car has come out to try and make things easier, and everyone's picking penalties up off the back of it.
Yeah, there's the chaos we were talking about. There's the chaos we were lacking. There's the chaos that we were missing so far tonight in a league, and that usually brings the chaos. Just on board with D. Perez, looking up and down the track. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 drivers with a drive-through penalty as it stands. 60% of the field with a time penalty, some more than others, some with a drive-through. So yeah, this could completely open up the track. Drivers have pitted to get onto softs. This is going to be all out racing, but now Sandman has got to find 5 seconds on Herman. Surely, despite his success, despite the championships, that is going to be too much for him to achieve today. Yeah,
it's certainly, if he manages it, it's going to be one extremely impressive feat. But Herman now, again...
Who's got impressive feet?
Similar to what Sandman had to make my head's... I don't know what I'm saying. I don't even know what I
thought you were talking about someone's impressive feet. Well, that's a bit weird, but carry on.
Each to their own. Sandman, of course, had that opportunity to keep up with Herman and just had to stay within 3 seconds. That's now flipped completely, and Herman just has to stay within 5 seconds of BSM Sandman. But right behind him, he's also got D. Perez that's going to be closing that gap and trying to get some extra points for himself and, of course, for Mercedes now. So, you know, when this race does restart, you've got 3 drivers there. And I suppose RS0121 as well, you can't really count him out, can you? Because he's had an excellent start to the race. Did really well in qualifying. You know, he's remained up in amongst the top runners, hasn't he? So, you know, whilst those two were out and about as leaders, they couldn't escape each other. And I think 5 seconds is probably going to be a bit too much, even with just 9 laps left, because I think that's what we're going to end up with.
Yeah, look, we don't need to sit here and keep giving Sandman credit. We know what he's capable of, but the level of talent within this league, the start that Herman's had, I cannot see in what way Sandman's going to recover that 5 seconds. But I said it earlier, last week we thought we'd seen everything and we hadn't, and what is this week going to bring? So maybe Sandman is just going to continue to cement his legacy within this league and manage to find that extra time. Anything can happen. There could be a crash, there could be an incident, anything can happen, who knows. But we won't be able to tell, we won't be able to find out until the safety car comes in, which should hopefully be at the end of this lap, because it has been out now for a couple of laps. And it would leave us with 10 laps of hopefully clear racing in Austin, Texas. But just having a quick look at the map. I'm not near Sector 3 yet. We've just got to get down to the bottom of this long straight. The longest straight on the track. Round the tart left. Crossing to Sector 3. At which point we will get the notification to say that the safety car is coming in. If we don't, then we will have another lap, and that will leave us with a maximum of 9 laps of racing, assuming we don't get another safety car. Safety car is just about to enter into Sector 3. And no notification to say that it will be coming in. So, safety car will remain out on lap 19. Will it go back in at the end of that? But as it stands, a maximum of 9 laps, which, based on the track times, you're looking at around a 1 minute 40, 9, 4.5. You're looking at about 15 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less of race time. But that is assuming that the safety car does go in at the end of the next lap, which surely it will. Sandman in first place, ahead of Herman in second. However, the big news here is that Sandman currently carrying an 8-second time penalty. Herman with 3 seconds. D. Perez in third, no time penalty as it stands, and would take the win. RS0121, fantastic race so far in fourth, but no time penalty also. Danger David in fifth, 3-second time penalty. T-Bram 1-6, no time penalty. Toxic in 7th with a 6-second time penalty. And then Quan, Formula 1 Farrett, Pleasant Snake 13, completing the top 10 with only Pleasant Snake 13 out of those 3 on the time penalty with 6 seconds. Quincy in 11th, but does have to serve a drive-through penalty within 3 laps of the safety car returning to the pits. Peter Caspi in 12th with 3 seconds. Skid Solo, 13th place. Tobelenzen in 14th, 3-second time penalty. DDB 890 in 15th with 3-second time penalty. Racing Wheel 027 in 16th, no time penalty. Veriduco 17th with a drive penalty to serve. Trugster, bad race by his standards, usually right up there, competing for the best of the rest, but in 18th with a 6-second time penalty to serve on top. Tarkin Gino in 19th, no time penalty. And Sir Ebo right behind the pack. He's a million miles away from the grid. He's just catching up now to the back of the safety car. Bad race by his standards with a 6-second time penalty as well. So the safety car again, just as we were around about a couple of minutes or so ago, heading down onto the longest straight on the track. We'll then take that tight left-hander, crossing into Sector 3, where if it is due to come in, we will get the notification to make us aware of that. And then we will get 9 laps of racing, assuming that we don't have any other instance. But the track will open up. Let's see if it is due to come in, as a safety car very slowly takes that right turn. Sandman right up its arse. And there it is, the notification from race control. The safety car will be in on this lap. Adam, we've got 9 laps of racing to go once this safety car comes in. Sandman, 8 seconds to serve on the time penalty. It's going to be holding up Herman, it's going to be holding up D. Perez and RS. Both haven't got a time penalty. What's the approach here from Sandman? Knowing that you've got all the cars right behind you with a short amount of time left, knowing you've got a minimum of 5 seconds to gain above the rest, 8 seconds more than others, what do you do? Do you go all out attack on those soft tyres, or do you pray for another incident and just take it steady?
I don't think you can go all out on those tyres as Sandman. I think it's going to be a natural thing, but you're going to have Herman right behind you, and he could either play this conservative, knowing that all he needs to do is get 3 seconds ahead of Perez, which for Herman and Sandman I don't think will be too much of a task. But then he's also only got to stay within 5 seconds of VSM Sandman, hasn't he? So, you know, it's a very good opportunity for him to take the race again. But I've got to say that my personal favourite for this race is RS0121. You know, we said he's had a phenomenal race. He's been very good in the overtakes, very good at the defending as well. But all he's got to do is get within 8 seconds of VSM Sandman, remain within 3 seconds of Herman, and this race is his. You know, he's just behind D. Perez, who I get is already 1.5 seconds behind Herman. So maybe I'm speaking a little bit too soon. But if he remains behind D. Perez for this next couple of laps, then yeah, okay, maybe I'd say that it's not going to be his race. But, you know, if he can get past D. Perez, I think he's got the pace to remain within those 3 seconds of Herman and those 8 seconds of VSM Sandman in just 9 laps. And he's just got past him there. Almost as if he's not there. He's gone past him, taken the inside line and held that position comfortably. So, you know, as it stands, the race winner is RS0121. And all he's got to do is keep within those 3 seconds of Herman.
Yes, mate, but looking at the gap already, around 2 and a bit seconds that's not even before they've completed the first lap out of the safety car. So really got to push on if he wants to do that. No doubt we'll be happy with the podium spot, but we know how competitive this league is, and we know how elite those top drivers are. It's not very often you get the chance of taking the top spot. In a great position to take that today. So let's see what happens as the drivers go round the penultimate corner as we head into lap number 21. But still, Sandman does lead ahead of Herman, but as it stands, as you mentioned there, Herman will take the race win as he sets a new fastest lap. Clearly not relying on that time penalty difference, wants to win the race outright so he can get ahead, especially with a driver like RS0121 right behind him. Doesn't have to worry too much about Danger David, as he also has a 3-second time penalty. But looking at this, he's not taking any chances. He's not relying on anything. He's not getting complacent. The speed that he's setting at the moment, he wants to get ahead and then push ahead to cover that time penalty, because clearly that's some respect shown to RS0121. The calibre and the also, as Sandman just kicked out a little bit, looked like it might have spun, but great car control. But Herman looks like he wants to be aggressive, get out into the open, win the race outright, and not have to worry about scraping through on time penalties.
Well, RS0121's gained 0.2 of a second since he managed to get past D. Perez, who's also lost position to Danger David. So that's what I was saying with him. I know he's going to be at this disadvantage here where Herman and Sandman will constantly switch over who's going to have DRS, but you know, as long as he stays within that 3 seconds, this is his race. Shout out to Ivor, who has just messaged us on the YouTube saying that we are the masters of streaming, so thank you very much, we appreciate it, and we hope to see you back on track very, very soon. But 2.2 seconds separates RS0121 from second place, and that's what I was saying. All he's got to do is remain behind him now. He doesn't have to go too crazy with it. Herman won't push too much because he knows he's got Sandman, and Sandman again will fall considerably. I think he's going to fall down to maybe 5th place by the end of this. Danger David will of course pass him as well, so you know it's difficult to call what's going to happen, but I think as long as Sandman and Herman are battling, they're going to be going slower, and it's going to allow RS0121, as long as he's got that clear track in front of him, to close that gap, and that's where I think the difference is going to be made in these last 7 laps of this Texas Grand Prix, as we've nearly got a collision there between Formula 1 Farah and T-Brand, but Formula 1 Farah gains the position on him and goes up into 6th place, very close going into turn 1 between the two of them, as now the stream starts to be twitching ever so slightly as they're starting to make the way around it, and we see the first casualty, and that's 22 laps in, as Toxic ZZ10 leaves the race, and he will be now AI controlled unless he decides to rejoin at some point. But Formula 1 Farah comfortably up into 6th place now as T-Brand loses a little bit of pace. We'll jump on board with Pleasant Snake, who goes up onto the inside of Toxic, and I think he'll comfortably take that position away from the now AI controlled T-Brand. And I think he's going to have, sorry, not T-Brand, Toxic CZ10, and he's going to have that as he goes up with T-Brand now as well, moves up into 7th place, should I say. There's a bit of a distance between them and Toxic, so all these different cars are starting to throw me off a little bit, but Pleasant Snake has done an excellent design job there to make that look like an Aston Martin, so I'll give him his credit there. And T-Brand is just behind him at the moment, less than half a second, and DRS was enabled at the start of this lap, which means going into the pit straight.
And hello, me there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, mate. He's cut out a little bit there, mate. Just checking you were still with me.
Excellent. I am still here. Don't worry. Yeah, T-Brand, as long as he's got within a second of Pleasant Snake, he will get DRS because we know that has been enabled at the beginning of this lap. There we go. I'll jump back on board with Herman at the moment. Then he was 3/10 behind VSM Sandman at the front, with around about 6 laps left. These two have been battling like gladiators throughout the course of this race, and time penalties may really tell the difference. Imagine battling the way that these two have and neither finishing on the top step of the podium. It'd be Heartbreak Hotel for either one of those drivers, and I think that's actually the closest we've got of anybody that's on the grid at the moment, and nearly a collision there from Herman going into the back of VSM Sandman, but they managed to avoid any damages. Now DRS is open from Herman. He gets up onto the inside of VSM Sandman, who's going to have to defend and try and get that position back going into the next corner. He's a bit of a distance behind. He's not going to quite manage it, and now if Herman can get himself ahead with that open track ahead of him, this could spell danger for RS's chances of finishing first place. Excellent. I'm assuming your side of things has now gone very quiet. So
sorry, mate. I'm here. Sorry.
Herman taking the lead ahead of BSM Sandman now. So RS's job is to make sure he's within that 3 seconds of Herman. He's got open track ahead of him. You know, BSM Sandman seems to be losing a bit of pace there as well. So, you know, at this point, maybe it's going to be a different story, because I think at the moment it is going to be Herman that wins this race again. He's made it difficult for himself, but it looks like he's going to be finishing first place for I think it's the third consecutive race. 3 races he's raced with all assists off, and he's won all of them.
It's not a bad record, is it? But yeah, open track now. You've just got to wonder what Sandman can pull out. Fantastic driver, but is anyone good enough in this situation to not drop out of the podium spot? Just having a very quick look, you've got to assume at this point RS0121 will get that second place based on the 8 seconds. Looking at Danger David, 3 seconds. That should be enough for Sandman to get that podium spot with 3rd place. But again, despite there only being 4 and a bit laps left, anything can still happen. We know how very quickly it can change in this league and in these races. We've seen it many a time before, and if something can happen within a couple of laps, it certainly can in 4 and a bit. But yeah, Sandman now down into 2nd place, 8-second time penalty to serve at the end of this race, as there is a safety car. Just as I said, anything can happen with 4 and a bit laps to go. We've got a safety car, which, assuming it is out for 2 and a bit laps, will leave us with 2 laps of all-out racing. If it's out for 3 and a bit laps, which it is a lot of the time, we are going to have an Abu Dhabi 2021 situation of all-out racing, as Sandman has made the decision to go into the pits, which, if I'm being honest, it's a brave one, because I'm not really sure what he can stand to gain by dropping right down to the bottom of the grid with such a little time left and so little time to regain those places once the race restarts. He's not going to drop too far down, as there is a big gap across, or there are big gaps across the track. 5th place as it stands, looks like he could come out into that, and he has served 5 seconds of the 8-second time penalty, so 3 seconds left to serve. Pleasant Snake in 4th with a whopping 9 seconds, the highest on the grid as it stands. Adam, we are going to get a maximum of 2 laps of racing once this safety car goes in, potentially only 1. And we now have Herman in 1st with a 3-second time penalty to serve. RS0121 in 2nd with no time penalty to serve. Danger David, I said it 15 minutes ago that he was in 10th, and we'll see where he is come that final third of the race. And yet again, he's found himself up there. It's the Danger David way. 3rd place with a 3-second time penalty to serve. Pleasant Snake in 4th, 9 seconds. Sandman in 5th, 3 seconds. All Out Racing is on the horizon with a maximum of 2 laps to go once this safety car goes in. What are your predictions?
I predict that the best that Danger David's going to get out of this is 3rd place. He's got that 3-second time penalty. I can't see him getting past RS and gaining that 3 seconds on him within the 2 laps maximum that we're going to get of racing. I also think that, you know, now Sandman's pitted, this is RS's race to lose. You know, Herman's got that 3-second time penalty, and whilst we know that in open air he's very good and he's got a lot of pace about him, I don't know if 2 laps is going to be enough to be able to gain a 3-second lead over somebody that seems to have taken to this track like a duck has to water. He seems very confident in this track, and, you know, the times that he's been setting, regardless of what he's done in previous races, is completely out of character for him. Or maybe it's just a new RS0121 that we are seeing. So hopefully it is, and hopefully we'll see him up at the front a bit more regular. Of course, racing in the Red Bulls now, we've switched with Danger David and D. Perez. Him and Quincy, of course, racing together once again. Quincy down in 13th place, though. But I can understand from Sandman's perspective why he's chosen to take that 5-second time penalty away from himself. You know.
Yeah, I do understand that, absolutely.
You've taken the time over the track position, so now he's gone on to what I believe is soft tyres. Is it soft tyres has come out on, I can only assume?
Yeah.
We jumped on board for him just to see that it's soft tyres. So, you know, there's only, 4 cars ahead of him. And the pace that he's been setting, he's been going toe-to-toe with Herman throughout this race. Both of them, normally Herman's got the quicker pace, but in this circumstance, this time round, Sandman's been on form himself. So with only 3 seconds, all he's got to do is get ahead of Herman now. And if he can get a quick start from when the safety car heads in, I can't see why he doesn't get a strong finish himself. He could be competing with Danger David for 3rd place. I just don't think Danger David could get any higher. With all due respect to him, I think Sandman could.
Yeah. I mean, I said it 3 minutes ago that it's not a lot of time, but anything can happen, and it's happened before, and if something can happen in 2 laps, it can certainly happen in 4.5, and within 30 seconds of me saying that, the safety car is on his way back out. It's almost like I called it, but little did I know just what was around the corner.
You also said we haven't had a safety car yet, and since then we've had 2, so...
There you go, mate. Someone's listening. Someone's trying to give us the chaos to try and keep up on. So, yeah, we'll keep it steady. Again, the safety car is going round now, so will it come in? If it does, we'll have 2 laps. So there you go. Safety car, again, from race control, has been called back into the pits, and that will leave us with 2 single laps of all-out racing. Around 3.5 minutes will be the time left. Anything can happen. Drivers have time penalties to serve. Look
at where RS is here.
Yeah,
Look at where he is. Just there. He is ready. He is poised. He's in position, and he is set to go. He is not allowing Herman chance to breathe. He's the pace setter. So as soon as he goes, RS can do the exact same. We probably won't see the RS because I think it's a couple of laps after the safety car before that comes back out. But some of these corners, Herman's going very slow, and I don't know if that's to catch RS out to go past him or not. But RS is keeping very, very close to him, and I think he's ready for it, isn't he? He's hungry.
If he goes too soon, he's gonna go past him too early. If he's not quite on it and doesn't react quick enough, then Herman will get himself a good half a second lead as they go into the penultimate lap of the. He has gone wide and has very, very, very closely. Very narrowly, should I say, avoided hitting the wall. Sandman already up into 4th place ahead of Pleasant Snake with that 9-second time penalty to serve. But Pleasant Snake not letting that go despite the time penalty to serve. Back into 4th place as they are neck and neck. Sandman up into 5th. D. Perez fighting to get into that top 5 as well. Action-packed racing. They know they are on borrowed time in Austin, Texas. But Herman now 8/10 lead over RS 0121. Not enough. RS 0121, as it stands, will get 1st place as Sandman flies round that corner into the very, very narrow left-hander to gain 4th place. It was like he was shot out of a cannon going into that little straight there as he regains 4th place and is now climbing, and within half a second of Danger David, has to overtake him if he wants that podium spot. Both with a 3-second time penalty, they've cancelled each other out. It is all down to track position. The OGs, the original battlers for the championship when we very first joined this league, are now battling for that final spot on the podium. Sandman 4/10 behind, very quickly closing that gap. There is nothing stopping him. He's on fresh softs as Danger David is on mediums, and Sandman goes up into 3rd. There is no stopping him. He now has his sights set on RS 0121 despite having a 3-second time penalty to cover. If he can overtake him going into that first corner, which he has the potential to do, he has got 1 lap to try and gain that 3 seconds, but his car's wobbled a little bit on that last corner. RS 0121 should get the race win, but Herman at the moment 1.5 seconds clear. He's found half of the 3 seconds and he is flying ahead. Adam, we're on the last lap. Herman is flying. Can he find the extra 1.2 seconds needed to win this race?
It's going to be monumental if he can't, because RS will be a very well deserved winner, but he is put under pressure now by VSM Sandman, and this could actually do Herman a bit of a favour. I think Sandman had to get past him and then get past Herman to really get any chance of winning this race. But I think it's just going to be a case of damage limitation for some of these drivers at the moment. You know, Danger David and D. Perez won't be happy with how theirs has gone at some point, but it's very close, and there's no DRS at this point, so it is very close, and Sandman's got past him, but As it stands at the moment, the distance is now 2.2 seconds between Herman and RS0121. As I'll change that to distance to the leader, it's 2.08, which means he will still be the race leader because 1.7 separates him from Sandman. It might be too little too late, and one extra lap could actually be in all the distance here for Sandman, because all he's got to do is get past Herman, and whilst he might not still be classed as the race winner at that point, he will still get himself ahead of the current championship leader after 2 races.
Mate, Herman's going to do this. Herman is going to do this. Herman is going to do this. He's now 2.7 seconds ahead, going into the penultimate corner, and he is finding time in the corners. It's in the corners where he is finding the gap. But just the slow last couple of corners, RS0121 is scraped it at the death. It looked like there in Sector 2 that Herman might just pull away.
Got second.
Yeah, because the
Perez
time
has taken
penalty.
second. Yeah, but Perez had penalties as well, didn't he?
No.
Wow, so D. Perez has taken second. Herman falls to third. Wow. I didn't expect that from the time. I was too busy looking at what RS was doing that D. Perez managed to sneak second place there. What a finish. It's the one I happen to be all for, isn't it? Typical. RS0121, great race. Well done. First place, well deserved. D. Perez, valiant as ever, taking second place. Herman, this is his first race where he's not finished on the top step of the podium. He'll be ready for justice in the next race, of course. In 2 weeks today, VSM Sandman finishes in 4th place. Danger David in 5th.
There you go.
There we go. Ivor gives a bit of a shout out to RS as well. His Spanish fellow. Nobody saw that coming. I'll tell you what, I did. I said it. I called it. If you've been with us from the stream, I called the win about safety car number 1, wasn't it? Safety car number 1, I said this is RS 0121's race. And to be fair, if it weren't for safety car number 2, I don't think he'd have got the win in the end. But
I didn't hear you say that, mate. You must have been on mute.
I hope you're lying.
I'm joking.
I hope you're lying, because it wouldn't surprise me, but there we go. Oh, we meant Perez. Perez getting second place. There we go. But yeah, of course, RS0121 taking first place. D. Perez in second. You're right. Nobody called that. Nobody saw it happening. With the 3-second time penalty, we were too focused on what was going on at the first place that we missed what happened on second. But that's no disrespect intended to Perez. What a race it has been from him. And Herman, again, continues his 100% podium finishes. So, Skin, I'll ask you just before we sign off, because there are no interviews today due to my sore throat absolutely ruining me. But, Skin, your thoughts on a driver of the day?
This is probably, in all the races that we've commentated together, the hardest I've found to pick one. Time penalties have played a factor. I really, really don't know, to be honest, but I know I've got to commit to someone. I'm going to go with D. Perez in second. Started in 7th, avoided the time penalties, and a fantastic teammate for Danger David, but historically has been that number 2 driver. So a great moment for D. Perez to get a bit of time in the limelight with that second place. So yeah, D. Perez driver of the day for me. What about you?
I'm going to find it very difficult not to go with RS0121. I think he had a very strong qualifying. I think he qualified in, was it 3rd place he qualified with Sandman and Herman, ahead of him. So very strong qualifying session. And, throughout the entire of that, it's just it's a case of, perseverance. He dropped down the grid at points and it looked like the race was done. They were miles ahead, Sandman and Herman were miles ahead at one point. But again, he was just continuing to battle, and that safety car just gave him the result that he deserved. So for me, it's RS0121. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the stream. We will be back in 2 weeks' time for the next race in the All Assists Off League. But, of course, congratulations to RS0121, who finished in 1st place, in 2nd place with D. Perez, and in 3rd place with Herman.
Let's fucking go.